Hey everyone. Today we have Sandeep joining us for one of the NodeOps Corner podcast as well. And today we'll be talking more about coordination for the next infrastructure and next billion users with Sandeep. Sandeep needs no introduction. He has been at the forefront of scaling blockchain infrastructure for years, helping coordinate one of the largest ecosystems in Web3 with thousands of developers, teams, protocols, and application all building towards the same goal with Polygon to bring blockchain as a tech to mainstream adoption. What makes this conversation particularly interesting is Sandeep's written to the CEO role at Polygon Foundation. I think that was one of the topic for last week's chat, where he is now leading the charge of everything in terms of Polygon Foundation that can truly scale it to the next stage of use cases to be brought on. Sandeep, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Naman. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited for the chat.
Awesome. So, we'll quickly jump into it. I would love to keep it short first. I think you've spoken a lot about scalability being key to onboarding users into Web3. Let's start there. How do you see DePIN, or how do you see the decentralized infrastructure fitting into that vision, specifically for the next couple of years with Polygon's new strategy right now?
Yeah, so specifically answering about DePIN, uh, I think like in crypto right now we have three proven use cases. One is store of value with Bitcoin. Second is stable coins, and third is DeFi. Apart from this, all many other use cases are there and they have promise, but you can't really say that those use cases have really found a product market fit and all. And I consider amongst all those use cases which have still not found their you know day under the sun, I would say, or which would have undisputedly achieve the product market fit. Amongst those products, I keep deep in as the highest potential candidate, because deepin is one place. Like for example, in gaming, one could argue that how is decentralization adding value and this and that, and you can answer that there are fair things. Like nobody's saying, and I have never believed in on-chain games, right? Like I don't think that's a going to be a very big category and all that, because it doesn't make sense to put everything on chain, right?
Yep.
But these gaming universes are like, now they themselves have become a very big industry, right? Probably like 300 to a $500 billion a year industry. Like if you aggregate the entire amount of the assets inside the games that people would have paid in the last 10 years, probably it will cross $1 trillion or something, right? So it is a very big market in itself in terms of the assets, and what blockchain can help there is kind of securing that value, providing more individual freedom, censorship resistance, all those other things, ownership, self custody, and these kind of things to the end users. But deepin on the other hand, like it feels like that deepin gets real value from blockchains, right? Because you can see any of the infrastructure that you can see today, right? Like you can see the your telecom infrastructure, your internet infrastructure, your electricity infrastructure, like things in the physical world, right? There deepin has a very high potential. However, what needs to be seen is some deepin companies actually carving out, and not only some, like actually we need one company in each category to figure out or to crack the mainstream play, because the existing players are very heavily entrenched over there. If you see over 100 years, definitely that would be the, you could say that okay, there is a very high probability that it will look more like deepin. But in the short run, some companies in the individual categories would have to break out big time. which will give the whole space legitimacy and whole space like a actual semblance of a product market fit, which will be helpful for any more and more startups coming in.
Got it. So it's more about, that one killer use case that can prove as a case study across. In your view, like what's still holding back builders right now operating with the speed and ease right now that you see traditionally in Web 2? What we've seen as if a particular technology, we looked at the entire AI boom that came and you had like so many use cases coming up, such amazing products coming out overall. Where do you see Web3 currently holding it back? Like, why are we not able to reach to that level where we actually have those one killer use cases? Specifically, let's say if you're talking about DePIN as a vertical right now.
I think, like, there are multiple factors to that. If you see, AI, like, AI has been here since at least 40 years, I would say, right? And then you are seeing the breakout moment of AI only now, right? Obviously, AI is a
Yep.
much bigger phenomena than crypto. Like, I by no means I'm comparing crypto as a
Yep.
global phenomena with the AI. Like, crypto is a subset of internet, right?
Yep.
And where you have a internet native money or trustlessness on internet in digital systems, but digital come first, and digital means like internet or connected digital comes next. So in my mind, like, internet is the biggest level phenomena, right?
Correct.
Within internet, then you have, like, all the, like, http and www and all that we saw, and then crypto is one more, like, a new, kind of, you can say, primitive. Just like www was there, world wide web was for internet, like crypto is basically the same for the financial and financial infrastructure. Whereas AI, is not. AI has a lot of overlap with the internet because the data comes from the internet itself. But then, as an artificial intelligence, is a more or a larger fundamental primitive than communication itself, right? Like, on top of intelligence, communication is built in the nature, right? So obviously it has some overlap with the internet. Without internet, probably this much data and all this would not be available. But you can argue that AI also has a standalone. Even without internet, artificial intelligence has a lot of meaning and useful. So that's why, like, so with the AI, first of all, it took 40-45 years for AI to be here, where people can launch those beautiful products, right? I mean, I remember before coming into blockchain, I dabbled into AI for a very, very brief time, like probably even a month or not more than that, and I could see it was so hard to build. Like, if you were in 2016, 15, 16, that time you would have to do your own ML at best. You could be a ML. You try to do something with ML, right? And
Yeah.
the results were also very this thing. And so this breakthrough of LLMs happened only in 2021,
Yeah.
2022 November, in fact, you can say. And that too, actually, 2022 November also coincides with the peak of crypto, when
Yeah.
Sam Bankman-Fried crashed and FTX crashed, like November 2022. And then that's exactly when Chat GPT-3 launched, right? Like,
Yeah.
almost exact, this thing. So the
Times. Yeah.
whole this thing shifted away from crypto. But I think, like, to come back to your answer, that crypto, first of all, obviously is still going through that infrastructure phase. Like,
Hmm.
we keep saying that there is enough infrastructure available and all that, but you show me one blockchain where tomorrow Visa says, I am starting my own, like, payment service on this, and I will process 50 million transactions per day. I don't think there is any blockchain which is processing 50 million transactions per day and can process it over years, where the state bloat or the state size will go, parabolic. Your state size itself will become in petabytes, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, you have infrastructure to do that. So this semblance, because a lot of crypto, analysts, in various funds and all that, will keep saying that there is enough block space available, many blockchains are empty, you can go and build application anywhere. They don't understand that you can build your application, you can scale it to 100K, 200K, even 1 million users. The moment you
Yeah.
start going beyond that, no chain can help you. And Only way right now sustainably you can do something is you can launch your own chains with that. And that
Yep.
is why you see for Polygon, like I have done this hard and painful pivot. I've been transitioning like the company or the project from, like, this single blockchain POS blockchain project to like a interoperability multi blockchain internet of blockchain kind of thing, because I can clearly see that one single blockchain, you know it can become a use case specific blockchain. Any blockchain, like for example Polygon POS, Solana, Arbitrum and all that, they can become a use case specific blockchain. Eventually they have to become a use case specific blockchain, or they will be simply replaced by application specific, so app chains basically. Yeah, no, you can see
Yep.
that this is happening with the Uniswap, right? And they having their own chain, and you have seen other DeFi protocols talking about it, but they don't need the scale that much. They need to meet the liquidity.
Yep.
And but you can also see even in Solana ecosystem, which has a high amount of kind of scalability and the visibility for that. But there also you can see like pump.fun, for example, talking about a sale and eventually maybe launching their L1. Their biggest protocol, Jupiter, already said that they want to launch an L1 of their own. And slowly you see everybody wants to launch their own blockchains, because if you are a big blockchain and you are controlling the users, why would you keep money on the table, right? Like, I mean, the valuation on the
Good.
table. First, like eventually you will backward integrate and you will have your own infra. And this is what happened in Web 2 also. Like, today the largest infrastructure companies are consumer companies only. Uh,
Yep.
you know, Amazon has AWS, GCP, Azure, and all that you can see. So so basically the scalability is still not, I don't think, like, the that level of scale is possible available yet. Only ways you can launch your own chain, and then if you launch your own chain, then you get into a fragmented world, and then you need these unified liquidity. And that, if you can see what AggLayer Polygon has switched its product suite and everything for the last 1.5 2 years, is exactly this, that you need liquidity in, if first of all the applications need their own compute environments, trustless compute
Yep.
environment, that is blockchains. um, if they want to serve beyond a certain critical mass of customers without having quality issues, like, in terms of their service, like, you don't want to have a Trump meme coin launching and then for 2 days the blockchain is congested and all that, and you can't serve your customers. So one is that. And the second part is like, once they launch their chain, how do they in-source the how do they bring in the liquidity? And you need to
Right.
provide a mechanism where the liquidity can move faster. And from Polygon side, for example, we've been doing that. But again, coming back to your main question, I digressed, with this long digression on this. But how the why are the builders not building it? I'm saying that interoperability and that scalability is not available for the builders yet, for large
Currently.
scale builders. And second thing is, I don't see that you will see only crypto native builders. You will see a
Yep.
lot of web 2 applications like Polymarket, you see, right?
Yep.
Polymarket, if you see the team is very product focused team. Like,
Yep.
you can't think that the team is like a pure blockchain team and all that. They have talented people in blockchain also, but they are primarily a consumer product team.
Yep.
And we as a crypto world, we keep asking like, when will the use cases will come? Polymarket is not a new use case, but prediction markets are not new use case. They exist in
Yep.
web 2, but you could use crypto to do it better, and that's what Polymarket has shown, and out shined every other kind of every other prediction market. And in the web 2 also, by the way, like Kalshi and all that, like they are far ahead of them by number of visits and everything.
Yep.
So so that's what, like, we don't need new use cases and crypto builders. We need web 2 builders only to use crypto for the betterment of their applications. And that you can see already is happening with stable coins. And
Yep.
as it keeps on going, everybody will realize that, once I have stable coins on my chain, then why do I even need to do with any other processor? Like, I can use my own blockchain, my own smart contracts, and build my own financial, trustless infrastructure where I can process my payments at my own kind of speed. And in
Yep.
In Web 2 also you could see. But yeah, I can go on and on with that. Like, yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
but
we
I
should.
mean, just to sum it up, like, do you think like we're officially now witnessing that a rise of new class of, I would call them, like, I generally keep on reiterating this everywhere I go, which is product first, demand first, revenue first, infra native teams and infra native applications been built out. I mean, these folks are the ones that are not just yield farmers, not just NFT flippers, but actual builders who are shaping the ecosystems with some real use cases, and thus focusing on application gives them a flexibility to create this entire coordination engine later, which officially now is like an app chain, which I think what AggLayer is eventually focusing on as well. For me, it's more of like an entire coordination engine to loop in the right stakeholders, be it validators, be it node operators, be it developers, be it consumers, be it foundation, governance, all these stakeholders coming together and like creating an entire, actual, infra native suite all there. So do you think this is what we are witnessing right now, to sum it up?
Definitely, like, I think, and also the crypto markets need to see that connection with the price.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing with Polymarket was that Polymarket doesn't have a token yet, right? So then, that people could not relate that actual adoption to this thing. But what has started happening is in the DeFi, because the
Yeah.
regulatory clarity kicked in.
Yeah.
So a lot of DeFi protocols flipped on their fee switches and all that, right? So
Yeah.
people can
Revenue
see,
shares. Yeah.
oh, these protocols are actually making revenue. Then I think
Yes.
Hyperliquid actually, added a big part to that narrative, that they have the revenue, and then ideally they are buying their tokens from the market, and which was really unthinkable 6 months back,
Yeah.
7 months back. Now it's possible to do whatever you want to do. So these are become essentially equity businesses,
Yeah.
and so now the financial markets can also price them better,
Yeah.
right? And they now want to demand from everyone, like, what is the revenue this system is generating, what is the revenue, how many transactions, how much this, or if there is not revenue generating revenue today, how will it revenue generate the revenue in future?
Yeah.
So those things are happening, and we'll keep seeing that. I think there is no turning back. I think if you see, like, if you hear me in 2020, 21, 22, I predicted that this will happen in 2023, but it's happening 2 years later,
No.
but it's happening, and I'm generally happy about it, that
Yeah, absolutely.
finally you come out of, like, previously, like, a lot of people like me who are not that great at storytelling, right? And I keep saying, like, especially the Indian founders, that we are generally very bad at storytelling. But the people who are better storytellers, they would just create vaporware and smoke screens, and do really great in crypto, especially markets. But I think now it's super hard. Like, you need to have substance in order to.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in Korea last week, and I remember one of the greatest conversation there was a random kid coming up to our event. I think he was like 16 years old or something, but he was so decent enough to understand, and he was asking questions towards, where do you forecast your ARR to look like 2 years down the line? What do you see your CACs and LTVs to be? If I ask these same questions to like billion-dollar valued, foundations today in our
So you
founders
can
in the
ask,
industry at
even I see, what did you say, CSC?
CAC, customer acquisition
CIO, CAC.
cost.
Oh, you're saying
Yeah,
CAC. I thought
yeah,
like CSC.
CAC.
I said CSC, even I don't know.
Kak, yeah, but
So CAC.
he was like, he was even like, fumbling during that talk, but it was so good to see that he is coming out in the event with completely unknown to what NodeOps is doing, just aware of what revenue we were generating, and just came out to ask this question. So I could see the transition, at least from the retail standpoint. They're looking at these things, which is really good to take them away from vaporware. And I think the important aspect would just be to now sticking to those fundamentals as well. You mentioned about the trusted compute as well, and we are seeing like huge demand exploding in AI, exploding in a lot of other sectors as well. Like, how important it is for Polygon native projects today to have like a very sovereign dedicated infra, specifically now that you're looking for an entire ag layer boost to come up in next 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that has been the thesis, and we believe that, especially with the advent of enterprises, right? They are they are not going to rely. They will not be able to rely on the shared blockchains, right? Like, if I'm JP Morgan, it's very hard for me to be on shared blockchains, and on some blockchain suddenly there is a congestion, this that. And even though you can argue that congestion happens, once every 6 months, once a year, and all that, but I don't think, like, they can tolerate their kind of scale, can tolerate that. Also, they need dedicated capacity for themselves. And I think, like, all of them are eventually going to just, create their own systems. Like, for example, JP Morgan also today, when they, I don't know, I think they kind of settle, if I'm not crazy wrong, like, they settle every day 1.7 trillion dollars or something like that, some crazy number, right? And they are not doing it on somebody else's ledgers, right? Like, somebody, like, obviously some connections are there from bank to bank and all that, but generally a lot of that, I am 100% sure that a lot of that, 80% of that, is happening within their systems only. Like, that, okay,
Yep.
you are just increasing the entry, decreasing the entry, this that, one institution buy it from, bought from other institution. They don't have to go onto public infrastructure. Like, imagine they started settling this $1 trillion, $1.7 trillion on Visa network. This is exactly when we say on blockchains, we say this, that okay, there is a blockchain, let's say Polygon PoS or Solana and all that. You can compare them with, let's say, Visa or MasterCard. They have a infrastructure, and they are saying that, okay, Walmart, whatever transactions you have locally, whatever users are using your transaction, your swiping cards and this and that, everything, all your internal ledger and everything, you just run on a public infrastructure of Visa or Mastercard only, right? Like, for them, it's like one source of money. Like, that source,
Yep.
they somebody swipes the money, somebody swipes their cards and all that, then the money comes into their system. And beyond a certain time, like, they have their own internal ledgers. Like, they don't need to have the full ledger on a public, Visa and Mastercard. Like, they just use Visa and Mastercard, that people take the money, and then rest of the credit points, users accounts, and everything happens within their own system. So I think that is what is going to happen with blockchains also. That blockchains are going to become like these sources where people will onboard or on ramp these dollars or whatever currencies. And then, once the currency is onboarded into their systems, then, everything happens internally. But obviously, some of these, kind of like the public use case, that doesn't mean that one or two of such blockchains, like public blockchains, will not have their, day under the sun. There will be one, two, three, maybe five blockchains, just like Visa, Mastercard, Rupee, and all that. Like, these five, six of the payment processors, which are like general payment processors, and there will be some value for that. But then beyond that, everything will happen in the app specific ledgers. So that's how I see the world
Hmm.
evolving in the AggLayer era. Also, that two or three or five or 10 public blockchains, which are again, like, most of them are like stablecoin movement blockchains,
Yep.
and then all the trustless compute, DeFi, this that, everything will be in their own app chains.
Yep.
And, I even said that, if you had seamless interoperability and connectivity, why would you ever have your application on a shared blockchain, which
Yep.
Uniswap, for example, showed. And you will
Correct.
see slowly and steadily all major DeFi protocols will create their own.
Correct. And what role do you see like compute infrastructure players like NodeOps playing in this entire piece of puzzle? What would be one piece of advice, one piece of input that you would give for someone like us to focus more on in the next coming years?
Yeah, I think you guys are already doing really good on that front, that you are not chasing every new narrative, because now the narrative era of crypto is over, and revenue era of crypto is here. And I think you guys are already focused on revenue, and it's good. Like, you don't have the, this weightage of a multi-billion dollar token on your head and all that. So you can find, because when you want to expand the revenue, you have to find these small niches,
Yeah.
right? Like you find the niche, you grow the niche, find the niche, grow the niche,
Yeah.
and then you become mainstream. And I think that's what you guys are doing. So my advice would be that keep doing that. Just find the pockets where you can generate the revenue, and that revenue is directly connected, into the utility of your token, and I think that you are good enough.
Awesome. And I think some of the decisions that you've taken lately as well, strategic choice to focus purely on POS, which I imagine would have required saying no to a lot of things. What does that focus entail in terms of what you have had to turn away from? How was the overall experience? Like how did you decide upon, okay, fine, I'm just gonna let go of these things and then we're just gonna focus purely on AggLayer and Polygon POS. Like, how was that overall process? I'm assuming it's not like just a 1 week sprint or
uh,
offsite. It's been
Correct,
like
correct.
long due
It doesn't
coming.
happen like a movie, like, suddenly something came to your mind and all that. Like you have been, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, you fight with these problems in your mind all the time, all the
Yeah,
time. Like, so last 2 years since ZK came from day zero, because we invested a lot of this thing that, okay, we are going to create the first ZK and all that. And that the ZK technology will become commoditized that fast, was not very very clear 2 years back. Now it's very easy to say, oh, why this decision, that decision, but it was not that easy to see that, okay, these commoditization of the chains will not happen that fast. And the second part was that, as an ag layer also, you have to see we already have a blockchain, like, POS
yeah,
blockchain is already a, kind of a, no, I would not say distraction, but yeah, your question would be, sorry, so I will, let me repeat. So, you are saying that, if you are thinking that ag layer is the real product that will sustain the test of time in the coming days, you always think that, if Polygon already has a blockchain, like many time when we discuss this with the projects, let's say Polygon has DePIN, right, and you are a DePIN project, you are going to ask that, oh, Polygon already has a DePIN project, you going to prioritize your own chain on this, right? This question you have to always answer.
yeah,
And the thing is that, even though we wanted to, we can't prioritize, because the markets are in deepin is so big. Like, you are doing something, we can't possibly say everyone, like, no, 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 use this blockchain. And that's
yeah,
not our focus area. So having two blockchains on that was already like this thing. But then, since you are as a founder, like, and I'm telling you also, like, as a founder to founder, because I need to hop to another call also, is
yeah,
that you have taken a decision previously, and you have spent time and resources on that,
yeah,
and then, emotionally, it's very hard to let it go, right?
yeah.
And then, you have to continuously think and make up your mind on that. And I think, like, the general idea is, which I also follow now, like, I mean, and it's not like I learned it like immediately, but now I see, I don't see the things with their sunk cost, right? Like, I just see
Hmm.
things as they are today, at this moment in time. Like, whatever is the cost, I have zero emotional connection with that. If something
Nice.
I was working, I was arguing for 5 years, and I suddenly
Hmm.
see this is, my thesis is broken, I get a new fact, I will immediately side away from that. I said, okay, yeah, this is done. I, without having any ego about it, what will I tell the people, what will I say this, what will, oh, I already invested, no, zero. Like, I immediately move to the thing. And obviously, the game of life is, you have to play in balance. Like, if you become
Yeah,
that detached, then, suddenly, like, many times in world, you might see that something is not working, and the only thing that helps you pull through that is purely your emotion. So you have to
yeah,
play that middle game also, right? Like, you
yeah.
need to know that, okay, if the decision I am taking is factual, or, I'm just being non-emotional because I'm trying to be non-emotional, right? So these things we have to say. But I have to
Nice.
hop to another one. Aman,
No,
this was a good
absolutely.
one.
Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure here, Sandeep, for joining in. I think your commitment towards scaling this has always been inspiring, and congrats on this new transition. Super bullish on the entire AggLayer and POS thesis as well. So thanks again, and for
Thank
everyone
you.
tuning in, just stay connected. We'll keep on
Thanks, Aman.
pushing these boundaries as much as possible. Thanks, Sandeep. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Naman. Thank you. Bye bye.